From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. And if you're wondering what everyone is doing today, it's Patch Tuesday recap day. That is right. Patch Tuesday. You know, that one day where we drop 732,000 vulnerabilities on unsuspecting IT and security folks and product owners and business drivers and owners and so forth. And we say, look, if you don't do this soon, we're going to have problems. So we need to patch this. And everything kind of goes to, what it does. So with that being said, thank you for joining this morning. Packed show. Let's get right into it. Join me for a tradition here on the CyberHub Podcast. My double espresso coffee cup. Cheers, y'all. I'm gonna do one more sip with all y'all this morning. One more. And obviously tell this is good, right? Because the cup is see-through. For those listening, the cup's see-through. You can see the nice foam on the coffee. You can see the nice concentration of the espresso. I may have to redo this show just on coffee. All right. October 2024 Patch Tuesday came out with 118 flaws in Microsoft products, 5 publicly disclosed 0 days, 2 of which are being actively exploited. Yes, buckle up, folks. The list of bugs that go on in terms of the type of vulnerability categories: 28 are elevation of privilege vulnerabilities within the Microsoft ecosystem, 7 are security feature bypass vulnerabilities, 43 remote code executions, 6 information disclosure, 26 denial of service, and 7 spoofing ability. This does not count the 3 etch flaws that were previously fixed just last week. And so there's a whole bunch there. Now, Microsoft did disclose 4 different 0 days, 2 that are being actively exploited. Those 2s are CVE 2024-43573, the Windows MS HTML platform spoofing vulnerability. They haven't shared detailed information about the bug or how it's being exploited, just saying that it was previously used by Internet Explorer and legacy Microsoft Edge, whose components are still installed in Windows. So while there is a retirement to Internet Explorer 11, certain applications still operate on that and legacy Edge systems. And so that's an actively exploited 0-day vulnerability. I think the other one is CVE 2024-43572. Sorry, yes, that is the other one. And let me just go. There's a better detail of this one here. So CVE 2024-43572 is documented as a remote code execution issue in the Microsoft Management Council and off targeted components of the Windows OS. Microsoft security response teams have warned that attackers are leveraging malicious Microsoft saved council files to execute remote code on targeted Windows system. The flaw has a severity of 7.8 out of 10 and headlines a hefty Patch Tuesday rollout to cover at least 118. Here they say 119 documented vulnerabilities through the Windows ecosystem. Microsoft did not share any indicators of compromise or anything else to give you any sort of telemetry into these, other than to say, please patch those now. So a whole bunch of stuff there as well. Software maker Adobe also rolled out urgent patches with fixes for security defects in multiple of their products line, warning of code execution risks on Windows and Mac OS platform. The security makeover for Adobe Commerce and Magento open source and enterprise-facing product regularly in the crosshairs of attackers were really the headline. The critical severity for Adobe documents 25 different vulnerabilities in Adobe Commerce that exposes business code execution, privilege escalation, and security feature bypass attacks. 2 of the 25 carry a CVSS score of 9.8. Adobe said impacted versions include Adobe Commerce 2.4.7-P2 and earlier, as well as Magento 2.4.7-P2 and earlier. The company also documented a pair of critically rated vulnerabilities in the Adobe dimension. Software warning exploitation could lead to arbitrary code execution. A separate bulletin for Adobe Animate listed at least 10 different flaws that could expose the software to code execution and memory leaks. There's also security problems in Adobe Lightroom, Adobe InCopy, InDesign, Substance 3D Stager, and FrameMaker, all of which require patches, none of which at the moment have any sort of in the wild exploitation from this month. Now, if you live in the world I live in, industrial control systems, pretty big deal, and Patch Tuesday brings those on. And for us, patching is not always as easy as it is in the IT environment, the OT environment. These specific environments a lot of times require scheduled downtime. It requires going through multiple stages. You've got to do these patches in your lab and ensure that nothing breaks within the process of how you've integrated all these different tools within a specific network. Siemens, for their end, published 13 advisories, not so uncommon for the company, but it does not show that its products are more vulnerable than any other vendor. So the company has addressed critical severity vulnerabilities in their Synax security monitor. That's a code execution one. Centron PAC 3200, that's an admin access vulnerability. The Weeboo key, which is a third-party dangle flaws, that one has some issues. HiMed Cockpit got the kiosk mode escape there, and that's on the medical side of Siemens. And then the Centron Power Center 1000, a denial of service attack there. Siemens also addressed high severity arbitrary code vulnerabilities in their Technomatrix plant simulator, Sim Center Nastran, the JT2Go, and the Team Center visualization. They've also have some medium severity issues in their Rugged Com APE 1808 LNX, Questa, and Model Sim and Sematic S7 1500 and S7 1200. Schneider published 8 new advisories, a significant number compared to most months. One of them describes a critical vulnerability in their Harmony and Proface PS5000 legacy industrial PCs that would allow an attacker to obtain sensitive information. They've also informed customers about critical and high severity vulnerabilities in their Yokoto OS, which is part of the Harmony IPC environment, and the HMIBSC IIoT Edge Box Core. However, the OS cannot be updated due to hardware limitation. So there's that there. There's also high severity vulnerabilities in the EaserG Studio, which is a privilege escalation one, the data center expert information disclosure, EcoStruxure power monitoring expert or remote code execution there, EV-Link Home Smart, and Schneider's electric charging stations all have information disclosure. And then there's Zilio Soft 2 has a remote code execution and denial of service. Phoenix Contact also published an advisory informing customer about several high severity denial of service flaws introduced in the PLC Next Engineer by the use of third-party components. Germany's CERT also posted a copy of the Phoenix advisory, saying the impact on the Open SSH vulnerability did impact this device. Rockwell Automation has not published any advisories on Patch Tuesday. It did release 2 on Monday. They cover high severity denial of service vulnerabilities in the PowerFlex 6000T and Logix products. So a long list on the OT side of the house, gang. Let's go ahead and continue. SAP also on the ERP side are calling urgent attention to CVE 2024-41730, which is missing an authorization check issue in the Business Objects BI suite that carries a critical severity rating. They've also released fixes for bugs in August of 2024. They've updated their security note with additional patches for customers who are using Business Objects version 4.2 SP009er. According to Unopsys, that's specializing in SAP and Oracle application. They've also rolled out high severity vulnerabilities in Enterprise Project Connection, all 4 identified in the Spring Framework. Those CVEs are 2024-2259er, 38809er, and 38808. And then obviously the Log4j1 now got patched as well. SAP also released updated security note that addressed the high severity missing authorization check in their product design cost estimating. So that security note now fixes the bug in additional components. All remaining security notes, the 4 new and 4 updated that SAP included in this Patch Tuesday, address medium severity defects in NetWeaver, Commerce Backoffice, HANA Client, S4 HANA, and Student Life Cycle Management. So you want to make sure you get those addressed as well. Qualcomm on Monday also published a security advisory addressing 20 different vulnerabilities patched in their products, including what appears to be a zero-day attack that's CVE 2024-43047. There are indications from the Google TAG team that this may be under limited and targeted exploitation. Qualcomm's advisory says it's a high severity use after free issue in the DSP service. The Google Project Zero researcher Seth Jennings, credited for finding the vulnerability, said on X that Amnesty International and Google TAG have found evidence of a potential in the wild exploitation. They're hoping the bug will be patched on Android devices very soon. No information has been shared on the attacks that may involve exploitation, partially because I don't want the threat actors who may be building the exploits to know how they patch it so that they don't get a heads up on it. So this could be also exploited, by the way, by a commercial spyware vendor, although there's no evidence to that right now, but this does fit the mold. If you still use Avanti, for the sake and the love of God, why do you enjoy being punished? Why? Why do it? Why? Avanti is now releasing 3 new security updates to fix 3 new cloud service appliances, all of which have 0 days tagged as actively exploited. This company needs to be everyone kind of talked about CrowdStrike after their outage. How's Avanti still in business? I ask that question every morning when I wake up. Thank God for waking up. And then I go, how's Avanti still a company functioning in the security space? With the amount of times I speak about them on the show, if I had a nickel, I'd be a millionaire at this point. 7 years of doing this show. A nickel if every time I said their name, I'd been a millionaire. Just let that sit in. There's a limited numbers of customers running the CSA 4.6 patch, 5.18 and prior, who are being exploited for CVE's 2024 90379er, 90380, and 90381 are chained with CVE 2024 89er63. The company says the flaw impacts CSA version 5.0.1 and earlier, and recommends customers who suspect their systems being compromised in these attacks to build their CSA appliances with version 5.0.2. I have a better idea. Rip it all out and get a better product. It's an idea. No, it's awkward. Doesn't feel right. But at this point, Avanti just has, this is repetitive. Their flaws are not just flaws. They're 0 days every time. They end up on the Kev catalog every time. Just saying. There's a significant challenge with Avanti with how they develop their security products. And it's cultural, and it repeats itself. And at some point, you have to cut the cord. I'm going to keep saying this until it kind of trickles down. Avanti saying they signed the Secure by Design pledge in May, and they're going to revamp everything. I'm not holding my breath for this one. Avanti says they still have 7,000 partners and 40,000 companies using its products to manage their systems and IT assets worldwide. 40,000 companies enjoy being punished. All right. If you haven't subscribed to my Substack, jamesazar.substack.com, go and check it out there. We've got a lot to talk about this Friday. I'll be dropping our Vice President Harris versus President Donald J. Trump. How do they view security and privacy ahead of the election that's just under 30 days away? So tune into that. That'll air on Friday and Saturday, and it'll be exclusively available on our Substack, X, and YouTube channels, by the way. It's not going to be on LinkedIn, not going to be on Facebook, simply because we've been told algorithm-wise it's really, really bad. So we're sticking with three main platforms for this specific episode. The best one to go to is Substack. You sign up and register for free. The video will be available there with all the facts, all the links, everything you need to see will exclusively be available on my Substack, jamesazar.substack.com. Go check that out. We now get away from Patch Tuesday to talk about Golden Jackal, who have successfully breached air-gapped government systems in Europe using 2 custom tool sets to steal sensitive data, like emails, encryption keys, images, archives, and documents, according to a report from ESET. This happened at least twice, once against an embassy of a Southeast Asian country in Belarus in September of 2019, and again in July of 2020, and another against a European government organization between May of 2022 and March of this year. Kaspersky warned about Global Jackal's activity, noting the threat actor focuses on government and diplomatic entities for the pure purposes of espionage. Although their custom tools spread over USB pen drives, like the Jackal worm was known for, cases of successful compromise of air-gapped systems were not previously confirmed. Now they are. The older attacks were seen by infecting internet-connected systems, using Trojanized software and malicious documents with a malware called Golden Dealer that would then, once it reaches eventually that same USB drive is inserted into an air-gapped computer, it allows Golden Dealer to install Golden Howl, which is a backdoor, and Golden Robo, which is file stealer, into those isolated systems. There's a great graphic here by Bleeping Computer that y'all can see. Once the USB drive is inserted, it does all the downloads. It goes into the air gap networks, and then it starts establishing persistence to the outside to do just that. In 2022, they started using a new Go-based modular toolset that performs similar activities, but allowed attackers to task different machines with separate roles, essentially reducing the ability to actually get onto the fact that they're in your air-gapped networks. They also no longer use AES encrypted configurations, instead exfiltrate files based on hard-coded instructions, including recently, up to 14 days ago, modified files that are smaller than 20 megabytes and match specific types of content, keywords like pass, login, key, or certain file types like PDF, doc, docx, sh, and BAT. Another interesting malware component is the Golden Blacklist. It's Python-based implementation, filters and archives specific email messages from compromised systems before exfiltrating them. Again, high-end espionage. This may be associated with Russia. It could be associated with China. I've seen dubious reports around all of that. Joe Sullivan, the former Uber CEO who was convicted in 2023 for trying to cover up a data breach, is seeking a new trial, and he should. Sullivan was convicted on charges related to the 2016 Uber data breach, was sentenced to 3 years of probation, who was fined $50,000 and ordered to perform 200 hours of community service. Those were considered soft by the prosecution, which argued that he should have been in jail for 15 months, and that would have been beneficial in deterring other executives in similar situations. Now, Sullivan's defense attorneys are arguing that the jury was not informed of two key limitations in the nexus requirements when Sullivan was initially tried. To convict a defendant under Section 1505, the government must prove there was an agency proceeding, that the defendant was aware of that proceeding, and the defendant intentionally tried to corrupt, influence, obstruct, or impede that proceeding. And according to the events, these requirements were not part of the jury's instruction. It undermines the conviction and called for a reversal of that. Good for him. Keep fighting the system, Joe. Everyone is behind you. CreditRiskMonitor, a provider of intelligence and analytics for credit and supply chain professionals, are disclosing a data breach that impacted their employees and contractors. The company informed the SEC on Tuesday that it detected unauthorized access on its network on July 19th. The investigation showed the attackers could have viewed, copied PII belonging to employees or specific independent contractors. Those people are being offered, guess what? 24 months of free credit monitoring and identity theft protection services. Fair? I think so. What about you? Hey, our service got breached. You know what we're going to give you? 2 years free of our service. That's how good we are. Love it. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back with a whole lot more tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, with all the latest and greatest. Until then, please make sure to subscribe. Go follow us on Substack and on your favorite social media platforms. Comments, like, and if you've got stories, you can always drop those to us on LinkedIn or on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck patching everything, and stay cyber.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.